Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some people have requested that I say a few words about Syria, and especially with Ghouta and what's going on. First and foremost is that our hearts go out to all the people who are victims of this oppression. Whatever is going on there, may Allah Azza wa Jal give our brothers and sisters relief. May He amend the situation over there. May He bring peace to their lands. May Allah Azza wa Jal give refuge to them, rebuild their homes. May Allah Azza wa Jal, make them the best shuhada of the day. May Allah Azza wa Jal give them the greatest of this world and the next world. Honestly, our Syrian brothers, they are some of the best people in the world. If you've met Syrians, you will know they've got lovely hearts, okay? What you've got to understand is that with any country, the government and the politics is different from the common people. When I visited America, I clearly saw that. The government policies, whatever of America, is totally different from the American people. The American people are different. The same as Saudi. You go to Saudi, you hear the things that Saudi Arabia is doing with the conflict in Yemen and other things. Is very different from the Saudis. The Saudis are lovely people. The same will go with British people. The same will go with other countries. So one thing is to separate the politics from the common people. Unfortunately, civilians, common people get caught up in all the politics and so on, and it's a shame. What has happened in recent years in Syria is that the tension between the Shias and the Sunnis has actually been kindled purposefully so that there's going to be a fight amongst the Muslims. It is quite clear from many different sources that this was intentionally kindled by whoever, okay? Shias and Sunnis have been living for, centuries in peace. We have lived for centuries in peace. Yes, we've got our differences. We don't have to accept each other's differences. We don't have to unite like that. We as Sunnis, I'm from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We keep our own differences, okay, fine, but we can live in peace, and we've demonstrated that for centuries. This conflict that has arose, it is something that was seeded in the Muslim community. It's very unfortunate. Now, on the back of that, we know what happened with the Arab Spring. And there were shuyukh in Asham, in Syria, that really wanted to stop people from, trying to get their freedom. The people thought, okay, we'll get our freedom. They went ahead. It was a choice they made. And unfortunately, with the intervention of other countries, so because of Russia being with Bashar al-Assad, it has taken a whole different turning. Now, the country that we're in Britain, it is in a state of confusion, to be honest with you. Their foreign policy has said, in one instance, it said that they are they are sort of with Bashar, then they're against Bashar, then they're for the Syrians and not for the Syrians. It is a state of serious confusion, and that's what's put us in a predicament, because when the British government will be with a certain, let's say, I'm talking about politics now in terms of a government, when they're going to be with another country, then if you aid them, then you're fine. But if they suddenly change their policy, if you're aiding that country, then you're a traitor. You're someone who's broken, the basic of you being the laws of being a British citizen and so on. You're unfaithful to your country. It's very unfortunate, because if you think about Afghanistan, the same thing happened, because Afghanistan was a country that was supported by Britain, okay? Until later on, the Taliban, when things took a different shape, then this country's law changed and their foreign policy changed. So you had to sort of, you were caught. On the one hand, if you supported the Afghani government in the, or Afghani, whatever regime it was in the early 90s, you were someone who was praised by the British government. You were praised by the Americans. But then suddenly, after obviously 9/11, now you can't have any stance with them at all. So it does cause a great confusion. Now, what I want to say to you is that it's important for you to understand that the politics is different from the common people on the ground. And if only the governments would also understand that properly. Because when you're supporting Syrians or civilians, you're not supporting the regime, and you're not supporting, the people who are in power, who want to be in power. And it's a real shame that most of these countries are interested only in their own gains. That's clear. Okay. Very, very, shameful that because of oil, because of other things that they want, they will send out their troops and they will kill each other. These are all different types of governments that do this. Now, we as Muslims, our hearts are bleeding because of our brothers and sisters that are caught up in this trap. Now, what I'm going to ask you is, first is, of course, I've given a few du'as at the beginning of this video. Continue to make du'a for them. Continue to find any way you can to support them in terms of giving whatever donations, whatever way you can support them, okay? But please do look for genuine ways to support them. Please look at the track record history of these charities that will come along, because right now I can guarantee you there's going to be many charities that will raise a lot of monies for Syria, and they're going to get millions coming in. The question is, can they actually get those millions across to the people? That's a big question. Can they do that? And in their history, have they done that? About 4 years ago, there was the Palestinian crisis, and charities, they took, subhanallah, they took, I think, millions of pounds, okay, in revenue to help the Palestinians. I was in Palestine at that time, and I will tell you that it was very, very difficult to go into those areas and to get the money through to them. So I want you to be careful, and I want you to look at the history as well. I do want you to help people out there, but it might sometimes be better to help someone who's actually got proper access, who can show you documentation of how they're going to get down there, and carrying or taking all that money, or even sending that money over, is a real issue. You better find out if they can actually do that. Because why? Because of the politics. If the British government doesn't allow, or may not allow, many charities or some charities to send funds over to these countries, then you've got to know, you should know that those monies may never end up in those places because of the policies. It's end of the day, it's politics. Policies have to be made for whatever reason, we agree or disagree. So I want you to help them, but please be careful of how you're helping them. The other thing is, my brothers and sisters, with the videos that get circulated whenever these things happen, if you see one photo, if you see one small little clip somewhere, I think that's more than enough to share the sentiments that are going across, and share our grief with our brothers and sisters. And yes, we know it's horrible, horrible things are happening out there. We do sympathize with them, but we don't want to psychologically damage ourselves as well. I have come across people who have almost become suicidal because they saw the Rohingya videos, okay? There were people who were almost suicidal, and I had to talk to a certain individual to stop them from committing suicide because of the amount of videos that they saw of the Rohingya crisis, okay? Please don't see loads of these videos, because it's not going to help. Okay, fine, the brothers and whoever they are have sent these videos for awareness. That's all you need. You need to be aware of it, fine. But beyond your awareness, you should not damage yourself. Just be clear on that one. And when this brings me to another thing. Yes, there is an emergency crisis over there, but don't forget there are many other emergency crises that might not be as much of an emergency as our brothers and sisters are in Ghouta at the moment, but you should also not forget them. So do give your donations, okay? But don't forget, Rohingya still. Don't forget, even Kashmir or other places or wherever our Muslim brothers and sisters are across the world. Don't forget those places, because they also need, they've also got people who are still in need. Normally what happens is that the ummah wants to come straight away to the most emergency crisis sort of situation, which is really good. But then we tend to always forget those same people after 2 months. We forget them after a month or 2 months, because they don't just need our funds right now. They need to build their lives, and that's a long-term future thing that all of us should be concerned about. Okay, now another thing I want to tell you is some of those videos that came out in circulation, from certain people, almost makes you feel like, why are you having a good time when this is happening in the ummah? Why are you sending certain posts out, when this is happening in Ghouta in Syria? Why have you, for example, a message came out, why should you have, visit my mosque, hashtag, visit my mosque, hashtag, when this is happening in Syria? My friend, you're absolutely deluded. I tell you, whoever's sending those messages out, you're deluded. Yes, we know that there's a crisis going on, and there are many crises going on. Does that mean that we stop doing everything else? Does that mean that we stop all these visit our mosques, and we stop all our happinesses and our celebrations, whatever we've got in our world? Does that mean that? Well, let me tell you something. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina Munawwara, there were people who were being tortured in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Right? This was known to the Muslims, known to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the hijrah only happened a year ago. And guess what? Ali radiallahu anhu, Fatima radiallahu anha, both got married, and there was a full celebration, okay, in Medina Munawwara, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was part of that whole celebration, the nikah. Even if it was happiness and joy that both of these are getting married, okay, there was nothing else in the celebration, but there was a lot of happiness, okay, that they're getting married, and they were happy, joyful. Even though the persecution was going on in Mecca, and they knew of this. So don't come around and send these videos, why are you sending, why are you guys, celebrating this, or visit my mosque, or why are you sending these posts when something else is happening across the world? Look, we know that, but you're allowed, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, to continue with your own life. And yes, we still care about those brothers and sisters, because Rasulullah ﷺ had his concern about the brothers and sisters in Makkah al-Mukarramah, but he was still continuing with his normal life, okay? The smile on his face, the few laughters they would have had, the things that they had in Medina Munawwara, all of those things were there, even though there was a crisis going on, right? So every place has its own, things that they need to continue with. And visit my mosque was a very good thing, because it was to try and broaden our dawah to the non-Muslims, for them to, for us to remove the Islamophobia that we've got in Britain. That does not mean that you suddenly make people feel that they're doing the wrong thing, haram, shirk, bid'ah, policing all of this, and making people feel like, they're making the wrong decision here, when they're supposed to be talking about Syria, they're talking about visit my mosque. I don't really appreciate such black and white, shallow-minded, views, okay? We care about the Syrians, and we care about the Muslims in Britain as well. We want to alleviate the Muslims over there in Syria and in all other parts of the world, and we want to make it a better place for us in the UK as well. So they're two separate things, and we're going to work separately for both, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the same thing in Medina while he was concerned about Makkah al-Mukarramah, when the before the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was actually signed. For 6 years they knew that their brothers are getting tortured over there, but they still had to carry on with their normal lives, okay? And finally, there's a hadith going around about this Gouta, Syria, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talking about the value of this. Yes, it's true. The hadith is there about the wonderful thing about Gouta, or the hadith might be there for a black flag or whatever. But my friend, don't be fooled to think that it's this time that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was definitely talking about. We don't know. The thing is, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the hadith, and there's up till now almost 14. There's almost 1400 years, and then plus another 39 years that have gone by. We've still got another, we don't know how many centuries till the Day of Judgment, okay? We don't know which which time the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that hadith for. Now, when when these people came out with the black flags and so on, I'm going to come on, why do you think they made it black? It's because the hadith talks about black flags, so they made a black flag. There have been countless black flags in the history of the Muslims, and they came across with these flags just to show their prominence. Did the Prophet ﷺ talk about them? We don't know. Okay? Did the Prophet ﷺ talk about Ghouta of this time, of Syria of this time? Nobody can say. Okay? Most likely it's some other time, because the chances of it being at this time, at this particular time, la ilaha illallah, the chances are very low. The chances are very low, because there are thousands, there's going to be thousands of years across the span of which that hadith could fall in any time. And you're going to take that to mean that, oh, it's this time. Look, brothers, there's this hadith. It talks about Gouta, it talks about Syria, and let's feel that it's legitimate, something going on. My friend, look, don't get fooled by this. Okay, because anyone who's going to bring a flag out is not going to color it in any other color, because they know the hadith talks about a black flag, so they will paint their flag black. Okay, and the same happens with many other incidents. I've come across this time and again, where hadith will be quoted, but you don't know if the hadith applies to that time or not. These are hadith there, we respect that hadith, we will quote that hadith, but nobody should assume that it's that time. And there are many other things that people will make and make you believe. But please, the bottom line is, we need to do something for the ummah, and we will do something for the ummah. Do your best you can with whatever means you have to help our brothers and sisters. That's fine. At the same time, do understand the politics as a whole. At the same time, don't see the world as black and white. These are a few messages I'm giving to you. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us relief, and may Allah Azza wa Jal give us justice on the earth. May Allah Azza wa Jal give His nusra, His help to those who are on the haqq, on the truth. May Allah Azza wa Jal remove the people who are on falsehood and the people who are causing oppression, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim. And finally, I want to say before I end this video is that, my friend, please take it easy with these tensions that we've got between the Sunnis and the Shias. Okay, I believe the Sunnis and Shias are going to carry on for a long time, and I as a Sunni, I believe that the ikhtilaf or the difference will only come to an end when Imam Mahdi comes out. Right? That we don't know when that's going to happen. So until that time, we're going to be around. Our differences are going to be around. Don't try and make it a thing of, oh, you're a Shia, you're a Sunni, you're a this, you're that, let's start fighting over this. No, we've got our differences. We'll keep to our differences. We'll promote whatever things that we believe, but let not that make the situation worse, not only over there, but over here as well, because of what's happening. Anyway, Jazakumullahu khair. Wa akhir da'wan, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.